Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you so much for joining me. The commentary I had planned for this evening was pertaining to Chris Watts, but I'm going to divert to Wendy Williams this evening because it's the latest conversation on the wire right now, and I will resume that Chris Watts commentary at a later date. What will become of Wendy Williams? There is a lot of conversation pertaining to the Lifetime documentary that has aired. Please check it out if you're interested in what was revealed during the documentary. Now, many people will say a multitude of things pertaining to what they witnessed. Some will say things should have been revealed at the beginning, but then you always have to say, well, when it comes to the diagnosis or alleged diagnosis that she has mentioned by the son, maybe they didn't find out the film crew until the end. You're entitled to your opinion. If they found out at the beginning, the end, it sounds like the end, but I'm not really sure because, it is TV. So we're going to play a little bit of this and that pertaining to conversations of what is going on with Wendy Williams. I will also read you the legal definitions of what she allegedly has been diagnosed with, and then we will go from there. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. ABC News is the source.
Wendy Williams' son is making new claims about the star's health. In the Lifetime documentary about the former daytime talk show host, Williams' son says her recent dementia diagnosis is, quote, alcohol-induced. This is Wendy speaks out for the first time since the announcement of her diagnosis. Eva Pilgrim has more.
It's clear my aunt needs help, and the biggest concern is people around him taking advantage of the situation.
This morning, stunning new claims from the family of Wendy Williams, who was recently diagnosed with aphasia and dementia.
I'm afraid that she could die.
Wendy's son and only child, Kevin Hunter Jr., speaking candidly in the new Lifetime documentary about his mother, saying her condition is alcohol-induced.
Tell me about those doctors and what you learned.
So I think they said it was alcohol-induced dementia.
Wendy's care team revealing last week that she was diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, also known as FTD. Aphasia affects a person's ability to communicate, and FTD is the most common form of dementia for people under the age of 60.
There is no evidence to directly link alcohol and frontotemporal dementia. So about 40% of frontotemporal dementia cases are genetic, and the other 60% of the time, we're not really sure why it happens.
Wendy's niece and anchor for our affiliate WPLG, Alex Finney, sat down with our Deborah Roberts ahead of her aunt's public health acknowledgement.
As a family, were you told that?
So I did not see that diagnosis. I only heard that through family. Now, I know Kevin said it, but I personally didn't see it. It does make sense that she definitely cognitively has some things that are off. Does it lean the way of it being dementia? I think it could.
Driver, I said go past the Wendy Williams show.
Wendy's guardian, who was court appointed in 2022 after her bank alleged she was incapacitated, suing Lifetime just days before the release of a doc, a judge allowing the premiere.
Some people are going to look at this and say, this is exploitation. She's being exploited. How could they do this?
But I will say this, first and foremost. My aunt is the executive producer of this documentary. And she said, now is the perfect time because I want to take ownership of my story.
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment.
Wendy Williams addressing her fans for the first time since the documentary release, saying in part, your response has been overwhelming, adding, I continue to need personal space and peace to thrive. Please just know that your positivity and encouragement are deeply appreciated.
Williams' family says while they have spoken to her, they still don't know where she is, but that she sounds like she's doing better. Our thanks to Eva Pilgrim for that report. And now I want to bring in TV critic at Variety, Aramide Tinubu, joining me now for more on this. Aramide, you wrote an article about the docuseries saying it feels, quote, invasive at best and predatory at worst. So What reaction is this docuseries getting from viewers now, especially after Wendy's team shared her diagnosis?
There's definitely been mixed reviews. I think that Wendy is someone who has a lot of energy behind her, knowing what she's done in terms of her career. So a lot of people agree with what I said, that it felt very exploitative and very unnecessary. And other people, unfortunately, feel like it's kind of just her karma. She's always been someone who's extremely outspoken, who called it like it is. And they're just saying like, hey, this is kind of what you've done all of your life. So now the chickens have come home to roost, unfortunately.
Wow.
Wendy's court-appointed guardian sued Lifetime just days before the release of this documentary, but the judge allowed the premiere to go ahead. What do you make of that?
I think it's very strange that the Guardian waited until 72 hours before the documentary premiered in order to sue, if that's what they wanted to do. From the documentary, it looks like the Guardian, at the time that it was filmed, from I believe about May 2022 to April 2023, was very hands-off and kind of separated from Wendy in many ways. So it just seemed insincere, in my opinion, that they would wait only 3 days ahead of the premiere to do this, knowing that the series was going to come out
Exactly.
about 3 or 4 weeks that Lifetime was planning on doing this. So I'm not sure what that motivation was, other than the fact that the Guardian looks very poor in the documentary.
Exactly.
Actor Bruce Willis's family has been very public about his aphasia diagnosis, saying they're trying to raise awareness about the condition. And now Williams is saying that she hopes that others may benefit from her story too. Do you think this documentary could help in those efforts to spread awareness?
I think it does help in that terms. I just don't think it was necessary. I think there's other ways to spread awareness. I do agree with the family in saying like there's no reason why one of her family members, she has a living brother, a sister, and a father, could have stepped in and been her guardian. I'm not sure. I understand why Wells Fargo stepped in, but I'm not sure why the judge would appoint someone that no one in her family knows. The fact that they don't have contact with her is very unsettling to me. So yes, we're raising awareness about this illness, but in this manner is extremely concerning to me.
All right, TV critic at Variety, Aramide Tinubu, thank you.
Thank you so much.
ABC is the source. So, what is the truth to the diagnosis? You hear the niece here. She's been very outspoken during the documentary. Please check it out. Lifetime. Clips of it is in the queue, the YouTube queue. There is a lot to discuss, and I'm just going to try to pace myself. Is the diagnosis accurate? Is it alcohol-induced? Is it genetic? When you go and Google this diagnosis, it doesn't really have a definitive, what I'm trying to say, cause or how it came to be. So how did she get it? Is the alcohol the start, the jump off? Or it's genetics or a combination of both or neither? Don't know. Different people have different opinions. Different people are talking about this. People who've known her in the industry, TV, celebrities have given their opinion pertaining to the diagnosis, what they saw in the documentary. I'm going to play you content from a friend who is not feeling the best about what was aired during the documentary. So let's go get that content. Thank you all so much for joining me. Okay, 1 second. News Nation is the source. Cuomo is officiating this commentary with the said friend. Thank you.
That just came out about her life. I can't really recommend it to you. It's certainly not the way Wendy would want to be depicted, I'm sure. Everyone knew when she stepped down after a decade of doing her talk show, the Wendy Williams show, that something wasn't right. We weren't sure what it was. I saw it firsthand. Recently, we found out that Williams has been suffering from aphasia, which is something that goes along with what's called frontotemporal dementia. Same thing as Bruce Willis. Same thing as so many of us deal with in our families. This past weekend, this docuseries came out about Wendy Williams. Lifetime it was on. And, it's a bad look for her.
Yes.
Even producers who worked on the documentary, Where is Wendy, are now saying if they had known she had dementia when they were filming, they would have never made the documentary. Here's a clip.
Happen to notice one of your specialty items. Did you drink this whole thing today?
Yes. No.
But, okay, let's just have a quick conversation about this. Don't you feel like maybe this is a bit excessive? I don't know if you need this right now. Because we have a lot of business.
I'm not drunk.
I never said you was drunk, but I just don't know if this is a good idea. So I think you're perfectly fine having as many drinks as you want.
Perfectly.
Okay? But I'm just going to put it downstairs and keep it cool.
Keep it there.
Okay.
Keep it there.
There's no question that the way Wendy was abusing herself could have only made her health conditions that we're now aware of worse. And nobody knows that better than her closest friend, okay? Regina Shell. She was in the film, although she didn't know that it was going to come out.
Hold on 1 second.
Could have only made her health conditions that were...
Okay. But I'm just going to put it downstairs and keep it cool.
Keep it there.
Okay.
Keep it there.
There's no question that the way Wendy was abusing herself could have only made her health conditions that we're now aware of worse. And nobody knows that better than her closest friend, okay? Regina Shell. She was in the film, although she didn't know that it was going to come out this way. And she joins us now. I'm sorry to meet you under these circumstances, but I know it's really important for you to speak up for your friend. Let's talk about what matters most to you. I just got a piece of information that the woman who is currently the appointed guardian has been accused of a scheme to rob a different client. There's a $30 million suit against her. You have said you have concerns about what is going on with this guardianship. How so?
When I was in New York and staying with Wendy in the summer, I noticed when she would call, she had no access to her money. So every time she had to do anything that she had to pay for, she had to go through the guardian. And she would call to order her breakfast at 7:30 in the morning with the guardian, and she would take the order, and the order wouldn't show up until sometimes noon. And so Wendy wouldn't have any food. And when I went back to LA, I would have to send her food from Los Angeles to New York through delivery service because she the communication wasn't there, and she had no other access to money than this guardian. And so that's what was concerning to me, because she was telling me she didn't have food. And her publicist also, who lives out in LA, both of us were going back and forth sending food to Wendy because she wasn't having access to food.
You know, I was reading in here, Regina, where you were like,
certainly,
where you were worried that one of the impacts of this documentary, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be that Wendy won't work again. But do you believe that she'll ever be in control of her? Go ahead, please.
I think that the depiction of this, what I thought was going to be a comeback kid story, seems to be like a demise of Wendy's story. And I haven't heard an official diagnosis from a doctor. You know, I've heard from this team that we don't know who the team is, and from Kevin and her nephew Travis, that no doctor has actually confirmed these diagnoses. So, I mean, maybe I'm in denial because I'm so close to the issue. And I have, in reflection, I see the behaviors that could potentially be such a diagnosis. But I don't want to believe that she is, at this point, unproducible. That's not my opinion.
I'll tell you, when I was with her a few summers ago, I guess now, she was impressively a mess. I felt very badly for her. I talked to her about it directly, and as you might imagine, she had absolutely no appetite for the discussion. But she was putting down a lot of substances. And she then wound up going on break to get herself together. do you believe that Wendy had figured out how to deal with her behaviors before this diagnosis?
Yes, I think that Wendy has always, I've known Wendy since we were 13 years old. Wendy's always been doing what she wants, when she wants, how she wants, and she's very clever. So she could potentially have been getting away, quote unquote, with a diagnosis potentially like this for a long time because she's quite smart, and yeah, she could.
Well, I know you're concerned about her. I know that this is so screwed up because it's hard for you to even get access when you want and to see the person who's so close to you in your life. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to News Nation.
Cuomo is the source for News Nation. That's a friend, Michelle, childhood friend. Let's talk about the conservatorship, and then we'll get into the diagnosis. Miss Marissa, is that your name? Sabrina, you were sued for $30 million for misrepresentation of a guardianship over a gentleman. And I do believe that suit's been dismissed by an attorney. It's a long wrangling of reading. I'll try to read it briefly, but it's too winded, and it's a lot of legal jargon to try to understand. It'll make your head spin. But I'm going to say this about Sabrina. It is a bad look for Wendy Williams. It's a bad look for you. It's a bad look for her. It's a bad look for the people who were around her while she was drinking. It's a bad look all the way around. And you hear Cuomo saying, spent time with her a couple of summers ago. So that's at least more than 2 years. So imagine what has transpired to her mentally and physically from the time he saw her imbibing, not doing well, versus now. So we have to pray that now she's getting adequate care, getting, food in her, less substances, because if not, she will deteriorate worse. The condition, because there's two of them, they are progressive. Now, they're not actually life-threatening, but naturally can get worse over time. And I did read in one of them, in the worst case stages in life, most people get pneumonia. They die from pneumonia with one of the disorders. But Sabrina, what is bad is that these people filmed this documentary not knowing what was going on with her. That's the whole point. What's up with Wendy? Okay. So they had no idea she was going to be in this state. And as they said, they felt bad to continue filming, but they said she gave her consent. So we'll go with that she gave her consent. And she's off, and she sent a notice to the public that she thanks everyone for the well wishes. So she's not complaining or mad about the documentary. Where were you during the documentary? That's what is baffling to me. These people were in her life for a year filming, on and off, I guess. So you're nowhere to be seen. Not on a phone call, video chat, Skype. This woman here saying she didn't have food, had to send food and order food from Los Angeles. This makes no sense. So how can you be the guardian of somebody's money, but you're not the guardian of the whole body? Because it's just like having a payee. And a lot of people who draw disability checks, Social Security checks, they become ill, disoriented, mentally defunct. The person over the finances, the bank account, credit card, whatsoever, they're also supposed to be looking out for the person's well-being, which means they're supposed to make sure that they have food in their home, they have toiletries, they go to doctor's appointments, they have adequate transportation to get to and fro. Where do you fall into that category? I'll wait. And if you tried to scam that last gentleman with some other people, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Because what I was thinking the whole time trying to read that long-winded article about what you did and didn't do, I remember watching a movie where it was a scam similar. They go out and find these people, elderly, invite them to this elderly place, like a nice, elderly facility. But in the meanwhile, while they're duping the people to go live in this facility, fine establishment, they're taking over their funds, their estate, all their furniture, so on and so forth. It was a very good movie. Very good movie. The blonde-haired girl that played in the movie with Ben Affleck, was it Gone Girl? She stars in it, and she plays the hell out of that role. That's what comes to mind here, especially in dealing with being over somebody's personal effects. I got a feeling that's what you and your lawyer friends and associates are about. And they also mentioned some judges too, that it's some type of conspiracy that you all get off on, reaching out to people, getting wind of people who are defunct, and then you take them for everything they own. And this kind of sounds like what's going on with Wendy Williams. You all found a defunct human being and you ran with it. Because what I'm thinking is going to happen if somebody doesn't step up and get rid of this woman, she's not going to have any money. She won't have anything because you will have found a way to say, we had to pay for this, 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 and this, and this. And there won't be nothing for her to live off of, whether she is coherent or incoherent. And that's my fear. It says she won't have anything. You will find a way to dwindle down on her money because that's what you did with those other lawyers for that Hispanic man. He came into a lawsuit and you all sent somebody saying that his lawyer or somebody was mishandling funds or whatever. And next thing you know, he has been wrangling with you people for years, trying to prove to the court that there's nothing wrong with him. Even getting a doctor's statement. And the doctor saying, there's nothing wrong with him. He can hear, he can see, he can ride a bicycle. And that's what this sounds like. You all found somebody defunct and you're now riding the wave. Even the husband, Mr. Hunter. Oh, Lord, let's talk about you too. I'll probably jump all over the place, so excuse me. The fact that you want money from a person who don't know which day of the week it is. We don't care about the lifestyle you have accrued because if it wasn't for Wendy Williams, you wouldn't have what you have. Checkmate. You used this lady, lied to her, was sleeping around with some young chickadee, and now you have the nerve to go before the judge saying, I can't pay my bills. Well, that sounds like a personal problem, and from my understanding, the judge told you so. Go get a job, Mr. Hunter. Well said. You see, this is what happens with people when people rely on people with money. They assume it's going to always be around. And this tale with Wendy Williams is a perfect example of what can happen when something goes bump in the night. The person becomes ill, and everybody's got their hand in a pot, trying to get their hand in a pot. And then boom, legally, she can't even write a check. No credit cards, no nothing. Now, during the documentary, you see a lump sum of money sitting on the bed with her. Where she got that from, I do not know. But it is baffling nonetheless. Because I said to myself, where did she get that lump sum of money from? Very interesting. And Mr. Hunter, I believe you are probably the main reason why she's in the shape she's in, because she lost her way from the divorce. She couldn't move on. And she already had health problems, the Graves' disease. And now we've got all these other big terminology words for what is allegedly wrong with her. Don't really know. As you hear the niece here saying, I haven't seen anything in writing. A doctor needs to come forward that work with her and say, this is what we found wrong with her. The care team, somebody needs to say, we're working with her. This is what's wrong with her. She's doing well. The family needs to see her, visit her, be able to go check on her. They can't steal anything. They can't take anything. She doesn't have anything. So why can't she have contact? And as somebody said in the documentary, that's what she needs so it could keep her memory flowing. She needs to be talking to family and friends. That way she can remember them. Because what will be jacked up if she's really not well, she will start to forget these people. And that's something else I noticed during the documentary. She knew her parents' name. She knew to mention her wedding name, Hunter, telling that to Black China. And then there's other times she didn't even know where she was going. Very interesting how the memory plays tricks on you. Don't know the street she's on, riding in a car, area doesn't look familiar, but she knows her parents' name. Hopefully she's in a better state than what we saw in that documentary, because that documentary, it was baffling to say the least. Let's go into Google and get us some information pertaining to the two diagnoses. And we will see if there's some truth to it, because I don't really know. The family doesn't seem to know either. They're just going by what someone told them. So just the best you can do. Okay, everybody, bear with me. This is by Alzheimer's.gov if you need verification for the information. What is frontotemporal dementia? Frontotemporal dementia is caused by a group of disorders that gradually damage the brain's frontal and temporal lobes. These damages cause changes in thinking and behavior. Symptoms can include unusual behaviors, emotional problems, trouble communicating, challenges with work, and difficulty with walking. Frontotemporal dementia, FTD, sometimes called frontotemporal disorders, is rare and tends to occur at a younger age than other dementias. About 60% of people with frontotemporal dementia are 45 to 64 years old. FTD is progressive, meaning symptoms get worse over time. Some people live more than 10 years after diagnosis, while others live less than 2 years after they are diagnosed. High levels of care, such as 24-hour care, may be needed over time. Once the person is diagnosed, it is important to plan ahead for financial, legal, and care arrangements that may be needed as the disease progresses. Now, what are the types of frontotemporal dementia? Here are the different types, which affect middle-aged and older adults. Behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia, BVFTD, is the most common frontotemporal disorder. It causes changes in personality, behavior, emotions, and judgment. Primary progressive aphasia, PPA, this is the other one she allegedly has, involves changes in ability to communicate, to speak, read, write, and understand what others are saying. Movement disorders happen when the parts of the brain that control movement are affected. These are two types of rare movement disorders associated with FTD: corticobasal syndrome and progressive supranuclear palsy. Other movement-related disorders include frontotemporal dementia with Parkinsonism and frontotemporal dementia with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, FTD-ALS. Symptoms can vary among these movement disorders. Ooh, Lordy, it's a lot. What is the cause of frontotemporal dementia? The underlying causes of frontotemporal dementia are not yet fully understood. People with FTD have abnormal amounts or forms of proteins called tau, or TAU, and TDP-43 inside nerve cells or neurons in their brain. The neuron die because the buildup of these proteins causes damage. In some cases, changes or differences in genes can be identified as the cause of FTD. For example, about 10 to 30% of BVFTD cases can be attributed to genetic causes. People with a family history of FTD are more likely to have a genetic form of the disease. What are the signs of frontotemporal dementia? Okay. They vary from person to person, okay? Changes in the frontal lobe of the brain are generally associated with behavioral symptoms. It may also lead to movement symptoms. Changes in the temporal lobe generally lead to disorders of language and emotion, and you saw a lot of that in the documentary. Her movement was also affected, needing help to walk. She said she doesn't like climbing downstairs in that old apartment she had. Up the stairs, she's always having to hold on to somebody. Speech. Also we saw the memory issue of her not knowing where she was in certain places, but then the next time she could talk about something that she did remember. Here are the symptoms of the frontotemporal dementia. Decreased energy and motivation, lack of interest in others, inappropriate and impulsive behaviors, not acting considerate of others. And you saw a lot of that with her, cursing at will, F you, throwing him a bird. Black China was lying on her, hugging her, and she was just staring off into space. Changes in food preferences and compulsive eating. We never saw her eat during the documentary. Food was at her table in LA, but you didn't see her imbibing in the food unless they didn't show it. Repeating an activity or word over and over again. Increased interest in sex. Neglect of personal hygiene. That's another thing. Did she bathe a lot? Did somebody make sure she was adequately being clean? Because that's something I was curious about, because you did see her in the bed and on the sofa a lot. Emotional flatness or excessive emotions, and you noticed that a lot too. She just had a dull look on her face. Difficulty making or understanding speech. Inability to make common motions such as using a fork. Problems with balance and walking. We saw a lot of that. Increased clumsiness, slow movement, falling, body stiffness, restricted eye movement. We saw that. Just her staring off into space, eyes bulging out. And then there is muscle weakness and loss, fine jerks, wiggling in muscles. How is it treated? Diagnosed. It can be hard to diagnose because symptoms are similar to other conditions. Also, because these disorders are rare, physicians may be unfamiliar with the signs and symptoms. Very interesting. Talking with patients, family members, and caregivers can help doctors make a diagnosis. It is important to tell the doctor about symptoms involving changes in personality and behavior and difficulties with speech or movement. To diagnose frontotemporal dementia, a doctor may perform an exam and ask about symptoms, look at a personal family medical history, use tests to help rule out other conditions, order genetic testing, conduct an assessment of the mind and behavior, order imaging of the brain. Only genetic tests in familial cases or a brain autopsy after a person dies can confirm a diagnosis of frontotemporal. Well, that's not good. Researchers are studying ways to diagnose the disorders earlier and more accurately and to distinguish them from other types of dementia. There is no cure for frontotemporal dementia and no way to slow down or prevent it. However, there are ways to help manage the symptoms, maintain a schedule, to decrease distractions, change the environment to help with behavioral issues. For example, if compulsive eating is an issue, consider limiting the food choices, locking cabinets and the refrigerator, and distracting the person with other activities. Well, what's interesting about that, we never saw Miss Williams eating anything. Very interesting. Try to recognize that it's the illness talking and accept rather than challenge people with behavioral symptoms. Arguing or reasoning will not help because they cannot control their behaviors or even see that they are unusual or upsetting to others. And we saw a lot of that during the documentary with her dialogue with Will and others. Limit choices and offer specific choices, such as, do you want to go to the park or for a walk, rather than, what do you want to do today? If you become frustrated, take a time out, take deep breaths, count to 10, or leave the room for a few minutes. To help with language issues, speak slowly, clearly. Use simple sentences, wait for responses, and ask for clarification if you don't understand something. An album of labeled photos of people, objects, gestures, and drawing may help communicate without talking. A speech language pathologist can determine the best tools and strategies for a particular person. Medications such as antidepressants, antipsychotics may help treat certain behavioral symptoms. There are also medications that may help with movement problems, and physical and occupational therapy may provide some relief. contact an academic medical center in your community to find a specialist and learn more about possible treatments. And you can visit the National Institute on Aging for a list of medical centers where people with frontotemporal dementia and associated disorders can be diagnosed and treated. They also have support groups for people with this disorder and their caregivers, allowing them to share experiences, tips, other ways who may be in the same tips with others who may be in the same situation. There are nonprofit organizations, community organizations may provide online or in-person support groups. Alzheimer's disease research centers may also offer education and support groups. If you know someone, or let's say family history, or are concerned about the symptoms of frontotemporal dementia, talk with your doctor. If you or someone you know has recently been diagnosed, explore the resources on this website and link below to find out more about the disease care support and research. Alzheimer's.gov is the source. This is a lot to digest. What will become of this woman? When you watch the documentary, I didn't know. I just was shaking my head because I was like, dear God, how did it come to this? But I know how it came to this. Grief. Dealing with the grief of a husband, cheating husband, I believe spiraled her out of control on top of whatever she had wrong with her, other, health conditions. And the one thing that is true, stress does not help if you are not well. I don't care what you have wrong with you. I don't care if you have lupus, diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, OCD, whatever. Whenever you start to feel bad mentally, your physical health will decline. And I believe that's exactly what happened here. Now, whether alcohol is the cause of this brain disorder ×2, I don't know, but naturally, you're grieving, you already have health problems, and then you start drinking. You're talking about one thing after the other, toppling on top of your brain, your bladder, your mind, your arms, your legs. Everything works in conjunction. Your brain controls everything from blinking your eyes, closing your eyes, moving your arms, your hands. And this is a terrible place to be. But what I question is how she behaved before this diagnosis. Because when I watch the documentary, I still see the same Wendy. And that's, to me, not the best look. Because she was harsh at times on the people she talked about in the entertainment field. And a lot of people had not so nice things to say about Wendy at one time. A lot of people didn't like her. And I think of one rapper who basically was letting her know he was somebody that, she didn't want to mess with. And I think back to all of that because now look at her. Look at her now. And so what I posed the question to the chat and the viewing audience is this karma. Because, you have to think about the things you do and say while you're walking around and in good spirits, feeling good health. And most of us don't think about that. Most of us would never assume that we would ever end up how she looked in that documentary. And as I said, I hope she's in a better state in the care facility that she's in. And we'll get to that in a minute. But just imagine if this is karma. Karma came home. All the nasty commentaries during those talk shows, berating people all the time. As someone said in the comment section under a video, and I replied to that person, they said, oh, that's a part of her show. No, that's a choice. Nobody put a gun to Wendy Williams' head in those formative years to act the way she acted on the show. That was a choice. That was her show. She talked about what she wanted. She said what she wanted. And we learned this from watching her, those who watched or heard how she behaved on the show. Some will say, oh, it's just a script. No. We know it's not a script because the same behavior is exhibited in the documentary. So that was not a script, how she behaved on the show. She's boisterous. At times she was outlandish. And you can see the same tone in the documentary. The same sharpness, sharp tongue, attitude. And yes, very willful in spirit, want her way, have her way, but she's not in the state, as what we saw in that documentary, to be ordering anybody around, talking down to people. That wasn't a good look. And you hear with this frontotemporal disorder that is one of the symptoms. Being combative. What state is she in now? Is she in a better state now? Family says, the niece says she sounds better, but is she better? The documentary was baffling to me because sometimes I feel like the niece, and a lot of people have talked very positive about her. She seems like a good person, rooting for the aunt. But there were times when I felt like she was in denial as well, that she wasn't really acknowledging that there was something wrong with her. The publicist, Alex, sitting there with her in LA drinking. Now, why would you buy her a drink? Allegedly, she didn't have no money. So I asked all those questions watching the documentary. She doesn't have any money, no credit cards. Well, how did you all fly to LA? You knew the state she was in even before going to LA. Will was upset about that. Why are they taking her out there? She's doing too much. I didn't understand that either. Why are you out there and you see what state she's in? Barely can walk, barely can talk, can't remember things, drinks excessively, and you want to take her in a board meeting with a TV executives. Ask yourself, how does that make any sense? So who paid for the airline tickets to LA? Who paid for the tickets to Miami when she went to see her family? Who paid for the hotel room? Either place. See, a lot of this made no sense to me. She doesn't have any money, so who paid for this? All the people being around her, strange to me as well. Why are you all working for her and she didn't have a job? Checkmate. Everybody's pointing the finger, worrying about who's using her, who's trying to get something from her. But what didn't make any sense in the documentary, she didn't have no damn money, no access to money, but yet you're flying her around. So who paid the piper for the tickets, the hotel, the dinner? And she told the niece about Alex. Oh, yeah, I pay her. And I remember seeing, some money sitting on the bed. And I was like, what the hell is this? So how are they getting their pay? Nobody was curious to how Wendy Williams were paying these people. 2 managers, black guy and a black girl. I didn't understand that. Why would she need 2 managers? She doesn't work anywhere. Probably getting residuals from the old show. But where is that money going? That's why I said, I won't doubt. You look up, she won't have a damn dime. A damn dime. Fooling with all these people. There was no need for a publicist. There was no need for 2 managers because she doesn't work. She did not work. And from my understanding, she's still not working. She's in a facility. And then we have to ask that question. How long does it take to be rehabilitated? Because this disorder is progressive. So even if you knock off the alcohol, she still has a lot of damage done to the brain if this is indeed the actual diagnosis. Is she in a better place now? How long is this going to go on? Because as I said to myself this evening, reading all the said information, what is the end game? What is the end game? Because as I said, if indeed she has these disorders, they are progressive. Each symptom, lifespan depends on the individual, of course. But what would she be able to do if the disorder is progressive because it's dealing with cognitive behavior, knowledge, language, speech? This is why she needs to be around family. As you heard in this article I read, she needs to be reading. She needs to see pictures. She needs to hear people talking to her. She needs to be active, going places, have some type of schedule, a regime, even a regime of exercising, just something. If it's just somebody taking her out on a walk, 15-minute walk, something. And that's what I thought when I was watching the documentary. How can she get better lying down all day? And that's if you're drinking all day, you're not going to want to walk anywhere. You're not going to want to do anything. Let's talk about the conservatorship. Will the family sue this lady? I find it interesting. She wanted to sue. She tried to sue Lifetime. Dear, you want to sue Lifetime because you knew what was going to be seen, which was you being absent and not around. Sabrina, Morrissey, whatever your name is, you knew that nobody was going to see you in that documentary. And as I just said, how can you be over somebody's financial estate funds, but you are nowhere around to make sure they're eating, they're taking a bath, they're going to the doctor? This is baffling to me. Didn't see you one time during the documentary, but you're over somebody's money. That makes no sense. So the family needs to sue. Now, the flip side of this is the reason why the family has been barred from being a payee of her estate, whichsoever, is because they feel like they're not to be trusted. So did the son steal money from the mother or not? And if the mother was declining in health, which we saw in the documentary, she wouldn't know what she was telling her son to go buy and pay for. I also heard that he was living in a $2 million home that he got evicted from. And that was something I was thinking about. How are you going to maintain a $2 million house? Oh, off the kindness of your mother. But she wasn't in any state to continue navigating. And see, this is where I'm talking about, where people get beside themselves and deal with people who have money. They think they're going to pay for everything and foot everything. And you see what happened. The house of cards fell, and they fell all the way down in this situation. You get a $2 million house, you got to be able to upkeep it. You have to pay taxes on that. That's where Ms. Williams will come in. 9 times out of 10, you're driving a nice car that probably costs $500,000. Well, you got to pay insurance on that. And the son obviously didn't make that kind of money. So he was really relying on his mother to pay for everything. Now, what you got to ask yourself, the home that he was living in, if this is true, did he stay in that house before she deteriorated so poorly? Because if you moved in that house while she was falling down, one could say, yes, sir, you did use your mother. Because what does a young person need with a $2 million house? Come on now, let's keep it real. You don't bring in that type of income to maintain and upkeep that house. You don't need that house. And maybe that's why the money got seized, because they saw him making purchases that were probably back to back. And it's like any bank. Once they see purchases that seem abnormal, they will freeze the account and investigate who's making the purchases, if they're legal or not. Most banks will do that. They'll flag the account. And maybe that's what happened. Now, he responds and says, I did what my mother said I could do. I got her permission, got her consent. But if a person is not aware of their faculties, how are they really consenting? They may say, you may go up to them and say, hey, I'd like to go buy a yacht today. It's only $250,000. Or may not even tell her how much it was. And then she just say, okay. And yet you never bring back a receipt. HollywoodReporter.com is the source. Let's talk about this guardianship business. Get it over with. In the first episode of the 4-part documentary, Where is Wendy Williams, which aired on Lifetime February 24th and 25th, the former daytime talk show host makes a haunting observation about the state of her financial affairs. I have no money and I'm going to tell you something. Wendy Williams states to the cameras, if it happens to me, it could happen to you. And that's very true. According to journalist Diane Diamond, author We're Here to Help When Guardianship Goes Wrong, who's featured in the documentary, Williams is right. It's not just Wendy Williams and Britney Spears. There are 2 million people in guardianship or conservatorship right now in this country. Diamond tells THR in the justice system, if somebody says you're at risk and vulnerable and need protection, the court says, okay, there's no due process in these courtrooms. Williams came under financial guardianship in May of 2022 after Wells Fargo petitioned the courts claiming the radio and TV personality was an incapacitated person and the victim of undue influence and financial exploitation. The accusation her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., claims part 2 of the doc stems from purchases he made while his mother was in his family's care in Miami, Florida, from the fall of 2021 until she was forced to return to New York for court proceedings regarding guardianship the following spring. My mom made me power of attorney because at that time the bank started accusing the family of doing things that weren't true and saying that my mom wasn't fit to make choices. So is this true? Were there purchases that flagged the account to where they thought something is amiss? And 9 times out of 10, she wasn't going to the bank. She wasn't probably signing checks. She wasn't doing anything. Somebody else is going in and pulling money out. And naturally, that would be a flag for a bank. The person on the account is not actually coming into the bank, withdrawing money, so on and so forth. Okay. So once again, he tells us that his mother made him power of attorney. And at that time, the bank started accusing the family of doing things that weren't true and saying that my mom wasn't fit to make choices, he says in the film. The court tried to frame it as though I was making all these charges for my own happiness. Williams' guardian, who has been publicly revealed as attorney Sabrina Marissi, failed to reply to THR's request for comment when contacted Wells Fargo sent the following statement. This matter was conducted under seal. Any claims against Wells Fargo have been dismissed. Is that true? Any claims that Wells Fargo is not on the up and up? They're saying that claims against them have been dismissed. Very interesting. Anybody in the world can hire a lawyer to write up a petition for guardianship, says Diamond, speaking to THR following the release of the documentary. It can be your mad next door neighbor or former business partner who hates your guts. It could be a family member or your landlord. I have found owners of lots of buildings here in New York that file for guardianship over people to get them out of their apartment. Banks, financial institutions, even hospitals. Wow. She continues, guardianships happen in a lot of ways, and some are good. If you're worried about your dementia-diagnosed mother and you say, I want to have power of attorney and help her pay her bills, and you go to court and you're named guardian, it works out just fine. But I've investigated this for 8 years now, and I'm telling you, more and more judges overlook the family. They just ignore them. In part 4 of the documentary, Williams' sister Wanda suggests this is what happened to her family. I was asked, would I consider being a guardian? And I said, I don't know what being a guardian involves, she tells producers. I was told that it involved taking some kind of class. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, whatever I got to do, I'll be focused on Wendy's health. And then all of a sudden, the wall came down and there was nothing. Though in the documentary, he stresses the court has a strong preference for issuing guardianship to family members. Lawyer Bernard A. Crooks, founding partner of Littman Crooks LLP and chair of its Elder Law and Special Needs Department, says he witnessed similar trends as Diamond. I've been doing this for almost 40 years, and I would say that what I'm seeing in my practice is more fighting among siblings and family members, which has led to courts giving guardianship more to independent entities or entities that they believe are independent, like banks or other financial institutions, he tells THR. Well, that's where there's a problem. Because even an entity could be just as crooked as the relative, family, son, whomever. So let's start with number 1 again, Did the son steal money, buy things he didn't have any business, things she didn't mean to condone, would not have condoned? What about any other family members? Anybody that worked around her? Because you hear the niece saying in the documentary, there have been random people working with her, hanging around her. Is that publicist, Alex, on the up and up? Will and that other black lady, were they on the up and up? Now look at all these people now. If she's in a facility, how are they getting paid? Because she can't work. That's obvious. So I said that in watching the documentary. How are these people getting paid when she doesn't have any income coming in and her income is frozen? I was just utterly confused. I didn't understand any of that. Okay, hold on one second. All right. One second, everybody. The articles are so long. This is Hollywood Reporter. I've never seen an article so long. Oh my goodness. Jesus Webb. One second. Sorry about this. It's so long. The article jumped up. So as I was saying, the banks can be over. The bank sees the money. Then you got this lawyer, but the lawyer already had a prior lawsuit, this Sabrina lady. So is she on the up and up? Because as I said, I would hate to hear Wendy doesn't have any money. I just don't trust I don't trust anybody. That's just how I look at it. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust the Guardian. And at this point, I almost don't trust the bank. According to NewYorkCourts.gov, in a case involving guardianship of an incapacitated person, also known as Article 81 case, a judge can determine a person is incapacitated if they are, number one, unable to care for their own property or personal needs. Number two, likely to suffer harm because they cannot understand the consequences of not being able to care for their property, personal needs. A judge can then appoint an Article 81 guardian to help a person manage either their personal or property needs or both. Noting this individual is typically a family member, the website states if no family member is willing or able to take on the guardianship, the court can either appoint a previously trained person or a social service agency to take on the responsibility. Exactly. But you didn't have that in this case. They're accusing the family of doing wrong. According to the website, examples of personal needs include making healthcare decisions, deciding whether the person should live, applying for government or private benefits on behalf of the person, and assessing confidential records. Examples of property management needs including paying bills, organizing personal assets, entering into contracts, and making gifts on behalf of the person. New York is unique in this regard because we don't default to a full or plenary guardianship like other states do, where you lose all your rights. In New York, the law says the guardianship is supposed to be the least restrictive form of intervention, says Crooks, who notes the burden of proof for the necessity of guardianship rests with the person making the petition. If you can do certain things, then it's supposed to be specifically tailored to carve out the tasks that you can still do on your own and just give the guardian the powers to do the things that you can't. More times than not, the judges probably give the guardian too many powers because they make the mistake that many of us make, which is that if somebody can't do A, B, they also can't do C, and that's not necessarily true. Because Williams' court documents are sealed, it's not known to the public which form of guardianship she's under. But based on the family's depiction of their limited access to her and a statement from her manager, William Shelby, in the documentary that everything with Wendy is a court decision, Diamond suspects she's under plenary guardianship, which, according to the American Bar Association, gives the guardian the power to exercise all legal rights and duties for the ward. When you become a ward of the court, you're stripped of your civil rights and all your assets, says Diamond. She adds that if Williams is in fact under plenary guardianship, she can't decide where she's going to live or what doctors she sees. She can't spend her money. She can't vote. She can't drive. She can't get married. She can't sign a contract. She can't go on vacation or go shopping. She has no constitutionally protected rights anymore, which to me makes this the most under-discussed civil rights issue of our time. And I can see why, too, that this woman, Sabrina, wanted to sue A&E, which is the parent company to Lifetime, because, hey, our name's supposed to be on any monies pertaining to Wendy Williams. Okay? You got to get permission from us if she's indeed under disciplinary documentation. So is she? They're over everything? Sounds like they are. On February 22nd, 2 days prior to the documentary's release, Williams' team put out a statement saying she'd been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, which I explained to you the causes and effects in this live stream. Williams' son in the documentary says he was told in fall of 2021 that Williams' condition is alcohol-induced dementia, and that doctors explained because she was drinking so much, it was starting to affect her headspace and her brain. Mark Ford, the producer of Where is Wendy Williams, has since told THR, if we had known that Wendy had dementia going into it, no one would have rolled the camera. So how do you all feel about the documentary being filmed and they started seeing how she was acting and behaving? Should they have stopped even before being told she had dementia? Just a question. I'll put it on my community page as a poll. Though both disorders would demonstrate Williams' cognition is compromised, the diagnoses don't necessarily mean she's lost all cognitive ability to the point that her rights should be completely restricted, said Crooks. People with Alzheimer's or dementia may have short-term memory loss, but they can still do other things. I wouldn't jump to any conclusions on that. So let's ask that question. Can Wendy, or at that time, could she bathe herself? Naturally, we couldn't see her driving a car, the state she was in, but could she at least use the restroom on her own? Take a bath, take a shower. Just curious. And what is her state now? Is she at a point now she can walk on her own, bathe herself, take a shower, and use the restroom? Because you need to be able to do basic things. If she can't do basic things such as use the restroom, take a shower, there's no way she would be back on a talk show doing anything. And if you saw her feet, oh my God, they were horrible. The lymphedema was really bad, skin darkening. Naturally, she needed some moisture on her feet. So let's ask that question. How is the lymphedema now? Has it gotten better or has it gotten worse? It's very interesting. Okay. Once again, they said had they known she had dementia, they would have stopped filming. In placing Williams under guardianship nearly 2 years ago, the court may have already done that, as Diamond points out. Once you're in the system, they may call it temporary, but guardianships and conservatorships turn permanent 98% of the time. And that's what you saw with Britney Spears. When she first acted out with the umbrella incident, shaved her head, there she was. Somebody over her finances, and they had a hold of her finances for a very long time. And we have seen how people act just being a manager of your money. Many famous people, athletes have lost money because people charge things, sign their name on loans, and they end up being liable and or broke. And there was nothing wrong with these people. Just their family stole their money. And also managers, financial advisors, so on and so forth. So as you hear in this statement, 98% of the time, it becomes permanent. We'll see if that happens with her case. Spears' case is one of the most well-known that has been reversed. On November 10th, 2021, a judge terminated the singer's 13-year conservatorship 5 months after she provided video testimony stating claims of abuse and a desire for it to come to an end. Thus far, the Williams family hasn't revealed plans to pursue legal action to place Williams under their care. Therefore, whether or not that could happen here, I don't know. says Crooks. I've been involved in cases, but it is rare where someone had a guardian appointed for them and they were able to get the guardianship removed. Wow, that's deep. It doesn't happen very often, and it's very difficult to do. A lot of it depends upon the circumstances under which they were determined to need a guardianship, but there are supposed to be protections in place if you're the personal needs guardian, he explains. You're supposed to visit the person, make the decisions regarding the medical care, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then other people interested in the case, including the family, can hire lawyers or do it on their own and file paperwork with the court alleging bad acts of the guardian and try to have the guardian removed. So will her family do that? Because I think in this case, with what we saw in the documentary, this Sabrina Maurice, she does not need to be the guardian. You didn't see her one time in the documentary. You didn't ever hear Wendy talking to her on the phone. Nothing. And the fact that the niece didn't even want to go look in the refrigerator, that bothered me. Why not? You can't say you care about her, but you don't want to go look in the refrigerator to see if she has food or not. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. You can't come in and say, oh, I'm concerned, I'm worried. Who are all these different people? But then you don't even say, let me go look in the refrigerator, because you just told the people filming she didn't greet you like she normally would. She usually say, hey, you want something to drink? You want something to eat? And then the producer, one of the film crew said, oh, she don't have any food in the refrigerator. That's when you're supposed to say, what? She don't have no food? Let me go see for myself. And then there she is, willowing away like, oh, acting upset and head down. See, all that's BS to me. You should have been wanting to see for yourself. So what was she eating during that time when they were there filming? What was the woman eating? I'm curious. Did Will ever buy her food, take her out to eat, order food? What about the other lady that worked with him? What about Alex when she was in town? Because I don't know if she actually lived in New York or not. All this is baffling to me. Okay. Let's see. The article is so long, but I will agree with this. You were supposed to visit the person and look for the medical, take care of the medical needs. And that lady, never saw her once during the documentary. She's just there for the money. Nobody's dumb. And so far, we haven't heard if they're contesting, but I think they should hire an attorney and contest it. I do believe this. They need to contest it. Let's see, what else do I have? So, the family has not yet contested the guardianship. It's difficult to contest it. All of the proceedings are masked, so they can't even pull the paperwork to see why they were excluded or not allowed to be the guardians to begin with. Wow, that's deep. So because of the shadowy way in which the courts protect these guardianships, it's very difficult for them to gather the information. Also, this is not a rich family that has a ton of resources. In the statement released by Williams' team, they claim her diagnosis has enabled Wendy to receive the medical care she requires, but the loose oversight of guardians make it hard to know for sure whether that's so, and that's my point. You telling us she's in some home, how do we really know where she's at if she's getting good care? Now, Denise said she sounded good on the phone, so we're going to go with that. But still, out of sight, out of mind, you don't really know what is really going on with a person. These are state-run systems. There are no federal laws governing this at all, says Diamond. It's up to the individual states and their laws are vague. They say things like the guardian should file an accounting every year. The judge may ask for an audit every 2 years, she explains. Well, think about that. An audit every 2 years, she could be broke by then. In 2 years, all her money could be gone. Come on now, get serious. The final title card for the docuseries states, per New York State Mental Hygiene Law, Article 81.31, the court must conduct a review of Williams' guardianship every year. And once again, even if it's done every year, the money can still be gone because we don't know how much is left of her money. Now, she tells us in the documentary, I know how much money I got, but you also been paying out to your husband at some point. And I think she should have just gave him a payout. No monthly installments, just one lump sum and been done with it. And he's such a bum. That man's, he's a damn bum. Okay. Now, on March 30th, 2023, the Senate held a hearing on guardianship to allow victims, mostly family members, to share their testimonies regarding guardianship of their loved ones, but change has yet to take place. They keep having hearings and then they say, well, it's a state's issue. I call BS because they can go into the state police departments if there's a civil rights violation allegation and lay out the problem and what they have to do to fix it. Why don't they do that for guardianship? Asked Diamond. They can, but they don't. The lobbyists are way too strong. Okay. Let's see what else they have. That's why nothing changes. Lawyers, guardians, conservators, judicial system, American Bar Association, they don't want the status quo to change because they're making buckets of money. Echoing Williams' statement in her documentary, Crook says guardianship is an issue that's important for the public at large to understand, regardless of what side of the street you're on. This deserves attention because it can happen to anyone. As you heard Wendy say, it could happen to you. And that's true. You could end up a Wendy Williams story, whether you are wealthy or not, because if something happens to you, do you have care lined up in place? For Diamond, the hope is that increased awareness will eventually lead to amended laws. This whole system is designated to, quote, protect the vulnerable, she says. This is not protective. This is predatory. Hollywood Reporter is the source. So how do you all feel about what you saw and witnessed in the documentary? I don't know how many people in the chat have actually watched the documentary, but it was eye-opening. And I think the crew had no idea what state she was in because nobody had seen her. They probably thought, well, she's just laying low, trying to get herself together. They go in and start filming. They didn't know what they were going to see. I don't think they would have known. I mean, they didn't know her personally, so how would they have known what to expect of her behavior, the drinking, the mobility issues? They didn't know that. But I'm concerned about everybody that was working around her. I'm also concerned about where she is now. What state is she in? Is she so far taking well to whatever regime they've set up? Has she conquered the sober situation? You have to ask all those questions. And will she be able to come back out to society, live on her own, navigate on her own, and be able to come underneath the guardianship? Because how terrible will that be to release her from the facility if she can't even maneuver on her own? How to spend her money and say, well, that's what it seems like that's about what it's going to be about, Brooke. And I just said that earlier. By the time you keep waiting for somebody to go over paperwork every year, every 2 years, the judge looks at everything you've bought, spent, she still could be broke. And then that's some more paperwork for somebody to have to sue these people to take them to court to explain what you did with her money. Because you don't know how much money she had at the time that she had to go back to New York and go to court to, atone for the guardianship. And as I said to people before, we know how she navigated. Some people like Wendy Williams, some people don't. But she was very harsh to many people. There are many people who did not like her. A lot of people said a lot of nasty things about her as well, on things she said about them and other people. And I asked the audience, is this karma? Although we're not supposed to wish ill on people, bad luck, but did she bring this on herself? Because she was not the nicest person. And there are many people who have talk shows and they did not behave like Wendy Williams. Let's just keep it real now. That was a choice for her to carry on the way she did. But then when you look at her, it's easy to try to put to the side how she behaved on TV and say, wow, this is bad. This is a terrible place to end up. And the fact they're saying the ex-husband is saying nasty things about her, the way she looks and acts or whatever, but you're the cause of that. She was weak-minded. She succumbed to drugs, alcohol, probably was doing it all the time. She was on the show and nobody knew. And then she also had, the Graves' disease and different things were going on with her. And then as soon as that mess got out about him and that girl, I'm sure it took a toll on her. I mean, I was stunned in the documentary when she said she was looking at the house, went to see for herself, eyeing it, room for room, saying, whoa, this is a big come up for a 32-year-old woman. And then she said she used some spray paint. And I thought, oh my God, you're telling that on live TV? Now, what did she spray paint? Oh, man. I can't believe it. When she said it, I was stunned. Like, now, Wendy, what did you spray paint? The house, the garage? But, you know, when I think back to when all that mess jumped off, the tabloids were on it. White on rice, okay? And how they knew her husband stayed there, they opened the box, the mailbox, and he had mail in there with his name on it. That was so damn cold. And as you hear her say in the documentary, he bought a house with my money 9 miles away from me. That's deep. Mr. Hunter wasn't hitting on SHIT. From my last recollection of how she met him and they dated and married, he wasn't hitting on shit in New York and nowhere else. And without Wendy Williams, he was a nobody, like so many people who marry people with money. And it's not to be nasty or mean, but a lot of people don't bring anything worthy to the table. And when you have a man that'll sue a woman for money, that's to me the lowest form of a man. You're already living free, off the hog, supposed to be loved, blah, blah, blah. But then when shit goes wrong, you want to go take this person's money and you're trying to take every damn thing they got. That's what's baffling about this fool. He sees she's sick. You know, whether she was a good person or not, the point still remains, you are a grown man. Go get your own fucking job. You're a grown-ass man. You have no business trying to get this woman's money. Now she's ill. She can't work. And you still had the nerve to go to a judge and say, well, I can't upkeep my bills and I'm getting behind. Well, sell something. Go sell that fucking house you living in. Go sell the house you live in. Go buy your regular looking house like everybody else got and pocket the rest of the money and learn how to budget. Because in the end, no matter what we think of Wendy Williams, Mr. Hunter, you wouldn't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of if it wasn't for her money. Bottom line. You, her son, were afforded the lifestyle you all have because of Wendy Williams. You also work for the show, and she says in the documentary, she fired you when she filed for divorce, same day. So why don't you have any money? And I'm trying to understand a judge making Wendy Williams pay alimony when he was working for her. But maybe the judge saw, okay, when you fired him, so now he doesn't have any income coming in. You're the breadwinner, so you got to pay him. I wouldn't have gave that dog shit. How about that? He would have to chase me down. See what I said? Soon as I got the first tabloid hit the scene, TMZ, Daily Mail, whomever, the Sun, I would have been working my tail off. I would have went to the bank. I would have got my money put in offshore accounts. Oh, honey, I'd have started divvying that all the way up. So when he decided to come talking about, I want a divorce, or I decided to take him to court, they would have looked at the assets and be like, oh, well, she only has this. And he could have sat there mumbling to the judge, well, I thought she had more money than that. And she's doing this, and she's got a contract with this person, and she's got a contract, and she could play stupid. Well, you had access to the money. Maybe you took it. Or how you going to prove it? I'm just saying, 2 people going in an account. He wouldn't have got mine. And that's what's so sickening about this story, is that she obviously loved this joker. As they used to say in the street, love his dirty draws. Ain't hitting on shit. Run around with a younger woman. Oh, and let me talk to you for a minute, Mr. Hunter. You should know that this little dry run you got with this little girl since 2007, or how long it's been going on, I give her credit that she held on this damn long. But that's soon going to end, because when the money runs dry, so does the love. Isn't that what happened with Wendy Williams? So just like you doused your wife with gasoline, that's what's going to happen with you and that little girl. And I won't doubt she's probably tired of your rockhead ass too. Because you are not no morning star. You ain't nothing great to look at. And you done made a baby with her, she gonna want out too. And she'll go get her little fly boy. And she'll be tired of you. Once she done drained you, got all she can get. Because look at how this is working. Everybody's living off of Wendy Williams' money. Stay woke. The son living off the mother's money. The ex-husband living off the money. The mistress was living off of Wendy Williams' money. You just think about that for just a second. Like I said, whether you like her or not, liked her demeanor when she was on TV, in the end, she's getting up every day to go run her mouth on TV to pay all these entities. And even in the end, when she was ill, she was still getting used and paying people who knew she did not have no income. That's why it didn't make no sense for her to have no publicist, no managerial team. For what? She didn't work anywhere. And everybody's pointing the finger, acting like they care for her so much. You couldn't care for her because she didn't have no fucking job. So how is she going to pay you if she don't work nowhere? And they would have seized the money. They're probably going to try to seize this money from the documentary because you know that Lifetime has paid her money. Now let's talk about that. Will I'll call it the payee, Miss Sabrina, will she be trying to seize that money that Lifetime has paid her? Because you would assume she got the check up front. That's why she was talking about Bank of America. That's probably because she's going to put that check into Bank of America. This is a dirty, dirty story. But I think it's a lesson learned for everybody. You better be very careful of the company you keep. You better be very careful of the people that are around you. You dating, married, your children. Whether you got $50,000 in the bank, you make $60,000 a year, whatever, something bad happens to you, you don't know what can happen to you. You ever get sick, have a stroke. You got a nice home, nice things, nice car. And as this article said, this is when people start fussing and tussling. And maybe that's what actually happened with Wendy Williams' family. People started bickering over the money. They saw the son was spending too much. They're wondering why the bank is seizing her assets. He's trying to explain to them, oh, I was just doing what my mama wanted. And they started bickering. But that ain't what they told us in that documentary. Because I got a feeling somebody ain't really telling the whole truth in that documentary. Because the niece, she seemed nice, but she acted like she didn't really want to know the truth about what the fuck was going on in that damn apartment with her auntie. And I would have went up in the refrigerator soon as the guy who was filming said she don't have no food in there. Oh, hold on just a second. I would have got right up off that sofa and went in the refrigerator. I'm not going to sit here and hold my head down like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. You know, miss me with this TV dramatization shit. Go look in the refrigerator. And then I would have been taking notes and bopping some heads upside each other. I'd been calling Willy Wonka, his girlfriend, and whoever else. Why my auntie ain't got no food in here? Y'all work for her, so why she don't have no food? I'd have been going in the bathroom to make sure she had soap, laundry detergent. See, you didn't hear none of that in the documentary. Does she have soap? Shampoo? Toilet paper? Because you have to ask yourself, if she didn't have no money, how did she have laundry detergent? How did she have shampoo? How did she have soap? See, all that was glazed over. This is just like old stupid court trial. The stuff that you're sitting here wondering in your head, like, well, wait a minute. She looks frail. She's not eating. You never saw her eat no food. So who's feeding her? So as this article says, you really don't know what the fuck is going on with her in that facility that they got her hidden. And I think that's jacked up. Why is she hidden? For what reason? Why aren't you letting the family see her, talk to her? They can't steal nothing. And she needs that. That's how she's going to sustain if she's talking to her son, if she's talking to her family. I don't know who stole from her, who spent something they didn't have no business. But in the end, it's going to be up to her if she wants to still deal with whomever. Because you know there's something wrong with her mentally. She's really in a jacked up, she's really in a jacked up situation. Because right now, nobody even knows where she is. And that, to me, is scary as hell. This woman could be dead and nobody would know it. She can call out, but they can't call her. And she's been in the facility for at least a year or so now. How long does it take to be in a facility for a person to get better? You don't even have drug treatment centers, I think, that run a year. Now, maybe you need a year to try to get sober, but it is a long time. But maybe it takes that long to get the adequate treatment. I don't know. But this is scary because it's the old adage, out of sight, out of mind. That lady could be not in the best health and nobody knows. And then you talk to her all in one day and you really thinking, oh, she sounds good. She sounds great. But maybe she really ain't. Well, she probably don't know what she is hanging because you got to ask yourself, is she getting proper care? Is she getting cognitive skills? You know, like you start ABCs with a child. That's probably what you have to do with her too. Make her make complete sentences. Show her colors. Ask her what they are. Because the brain has to be able to function. It won't function if there's no interaction with the brain. So you really got to treat her like she's a kid going to school. ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, 2 times 2, 4 times 4. You understand what I'm saying? She needs that. But she needs her family. They need to be talking to her. They need to be video chatting with her. They need to keep her engaged. Like they said, they need to show her photographs so she can keep remembering everyone's face, their names. Just like she didn't even remember the name of the publicist. I thought I was going to scream. When she said to Will or somebody, she said, what's that black girl's name? She said something like, that black girl that was here. And I thought, who the hell is she talking about? She's talking about the damn publicist. Couldn't remember her damn name. The one that took her to Los Angeles. Now, she can remember her parents' name. Both parents' names she can remember. But she couldn't remember the publicist's name. And that happens with dementia. Certain things they remember, and yes, they repeat over and over, such as, when I was a little girl, blah, 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 I used to do this. They always remember the formative stuff. And you will see that in Alzheimer's patients. They can tell you what house they lived in when they were a little girl or boy. They can tell you what street they lived on, but they can't tell you who you are. Because that's usually what happens in dementia patients. They go backwards. They go backwards. That's why she can tell you her parents' name, see? And I found that very interesting. She knew her parents' name, but she didn't remember the name of the publicist. And that's not good. That's not good at all. What will become of this conservatorship? Will she be able to come out of it? Will she be able to get better, be on her own, manage her own affairs, bank accounts, credit cards? How much money does she actually have in her bank account? Has she been swindled by the bank, Wells Fargo, and this lady? I'm curious. Did the son take her money? Who paid for these trips? Miami, LA. Lots of questions. Let's see what else we can find about Miss Williams. Thank you all so much for joining me. Almost an hour and 30 minutes into this live stream. Just bringing you a little bit of information pertaining to her diagnoses and the conservatorship, how it works. For those who did not know what she has, I've read it off. You have to go back to the beginning of this live where I give you the descriptions of what it's about. I was looking over my notes trying to see everything I mentioned. So I had a lot of notes. Who will they reveal who took the money? I'm curious about that. Will they reveal who took the money? Will this woman continue to sue Lifetime, A&E? Does she have any credit cards? What does she actually have on her persons now? Possibly nothing. Did the family take her money? Wow. This is sad to me. And will they allow the family to see her? Now let's see what I got right here.
Become quite a battle among family and their focus on her well-being, and those that are worried that more has been focused on lining their own pockets and exploiting Williams in the process here. The documentary delving into the fragile struggles of the former talk show host and showing her financial problems, family drama, even heart-wrenching moments of her struggle with alcohol.
You know how many people come out to support you? You know how many people love you? No, I don't.
Everything is going to be good.
I know.
Now, Williams' team is revealing last week that she was diagnosed with aphasia and dementia, and her son, an only child, is saying that her condition is alcohol-induced. But there's doctors that beg to differ.
There is no evidence to directly link alcohol and frontotemporal dementia. So about 40% of frontotemporal dementia cases are genetic, and the other 60% of the time, we're not really sure why it happens.
Now, the executive producers of the doc, Mark Ford and Erica Hansen, say if they had known Wendy Williams had dementia, they wouldn't have rolled the camera. Mark and Erica join me now. Appreciate you both being here. As you know, this has been quite the headline maker. And so, Mark, I just want to start with you. Let's clarify exactly, when did Wendy Williams agree to do this docuseries? And when did you find out that she had dementia?
Well, Wendy agreed to do the docuseries way back in August of 2022 was our first kind of conversations arising. And as you can imagine, there was legal discussions with all of her lawyers, her guardian, her management, her publicist, and everyone signed off on the documentary before we began down this road with her. We didn't find out about her dementia.
Let's go back
series
there.
way back in August of 2022 was our first kind of conversations arising. And as you can imagine, there was legal discussions with all of her lawyers, her guardian, her management, her publicist, and everyone signed off on the documentary before.
Well, August 22, and you heard, if you watched The View, Sonny said that, why are you all waiting now to sue? Why were you all trying to sue days ago not to have it released? Because as Sonny said, you had to have known that the documentary was coming out. So why are you all waiting now, Sabrina, to want to sue A&E, the parent company to Lifetime? Why would you want to sue? This man here tells us everybody signed off. Managers, publicists, and the guardian. Now, you're going to have to come out and give a statement to say this producer is lying. How about that? And I don't think you want to talk anyway, Sabrina, because the documentary then told you were not looking after Miss Williams' best interests. We never saw you in the documentary. We never even heard you on the cell phone talking to this woman. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And if it's out now, because now people can say, well, she didn't even have food. So then if we think that, we're going to say, well, did she have toilet paper? Did she have shampoo? Did she have basic necessities besides a damn vodka bottle? So you help aiding the problem that she's been battling for years: alcoholism, substance abuse, plus health problems. So you need to be removed as a guardian ASAP. And if a judge don't remove you, the judge needs his tail, her tail beat too. Because there's no legal reason for you to remain the guardian after this documentary has been aired. Because you can see she's sickly, you can see she's frail, you can see she has memory loss, and you're nowhere in the picture. And the audacity to try to sue a company when you agreed to the documentary. You didn't want the documentary out because you knew you were nowhere in the documentary to help aid her. And my thing is just like what I've read in an article. You can't be over somebody's money, but you don't even check on them to see if they're breathing. You don't even know if one of the damn legs or foot that fell off. I mean, come on, let's keep it real. Because her feet look horrible. And that's going to cause a problems with mobility because she's not going to be able to walk. The feet get so swelled, she's not going to be able to walk. That's why she's wearing those boots. Morning, noon, and night, summer, spring, fall. She's wearing those fuzzy boots with no socks because it's probably feet too swole to wear socks, hose. This is bad. So has the swelling gone down in her feet?
Or we began down this road with her. We didn't find out about her dementia diagnosis until well towards the end of filming, when her son and her family revealed to us that they had their own private diagnosis, and that's what they shared in the film. So, of course, the entire way we were raising questions and asking questions, what's really going on here, because we could see that her behavior was becoming more erratic and more concerning, frankly.
So let me ask you, why didn't you just scrap the project when you found out what was really going on here?
There were many conversations all along the way about whether we should continue filming or not. But I think once we got to the family and started understanding their point of view and their story here, it was really important to shine a light on the truth of what Wendy's situation was. The entire time we were filming this documentary, she was under the care of a legal guardian. The courts took that care away from her family and placed her into the care of a legal guardian. And you can see in the documentary, how Wendy was, and people can make judgments about whether she was receiving the right level of care or not. But it became important that this family's story was allowed to have a platform, because there are many thousands of families across America who are dealing with this guardianship system and don't have the platform that Wendy has.
Sure, but her legal guardian did sue Lifetime, trying to stop this from airing.
And the courts threw that out and decided that the constitutional rights of Wendy and her family were more important than their temporary restraining order or their attempt to stop it.
So Erica, a TV critic for Variety, says the docuseries is invasive at best, predatory at worst. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, the documentary is a difficult film to watch at times, and it tackles a very sensitive subject. But I think we all felt strongly that we wanted to shed light on what was truly happening to Wendy under the care of this guardianship. She was very isolated in her apartment, obviously struggling with serious addiction issues. And we were very concerned, and we began to wonder what would have happened if we weren't there. And so I can understand why people can be uncomfortable watching part of the film. It was difficult to film as well. And we tried to be very responsible in what we showed, but to reveal the truth.
So, Erica, as an EP, how involved was Wendy Williams? And was she involved to the very end, including being there to see the final cut?
Wendy was involved. I filmed with her every day, and we talked about everything that we were going to do, and she had opinions about it. Some days were great, and she was very lucid. Other days, as you can see, she was struggling. But she was very involved, and we don't know if she watched the documentary. I know her family. I watched the documentary with her family, and they were very supportive. And, we really wanted to share what it's been like for them to be separated, from their loved one and not being able to communicate, not being able to call. She can call them, they can't call her. And so it was very important to get the family involved and engaged in this story and be a part of it.
So Wendy did not have a final say on what did air.
No, we had no access to Wendy. You see in the documentary that we finished filming with her in April of 2023, and we haven't been able to communicate with Wendy since then.
So the fact that she was
her management did view the documentary. They did.
I guess what the struggle, I think, for a lot of folks is, if she indeed was the EP, this is about her life, about her struggles, that she should have been somehow involved in this process to sign off on it.
Yeah, Well, she's the subject of the documentary and was very involved, as Erica said, all throughout it. And, always said, from the very beginning that, I'm an open book, tell the truth. Let's just tell this story of my life now. And the documentary started off as one thing, but it ended up telling the truth that was a little bit darker and a little bit scarier and a little bit more nuanced, than what we intended going into it. So we hope people watch it and, make their own judgments about it. But what we can say is that we were committed to capturing the truth of what was going on in Wendy Williams' life in this period of time that we had access to her while she was under the supposed care of a legal guardian. So I think that's the important takeaway here, is that any family member, like Wendy said, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. So we all need to kind of look at these issues and examine, whether the guardianships that are now, kind of dividing families across America should be reformed in some way.
Well, there are a lot of discussions to have, and clearly we'd love to follow up and just see the type of response that you do get as time moves on, right, and how exactly this plays out for her, for the family, and even more so the struggles that she's been dealing with and still dealing with. If anything, there needs to be a much bigger discussion about aphasia, dementia, and who cares for us, in these difficult times where we can't make decisions clearly.
Exactly.
Executive producers of the docuseries, Mark Ford, Erica Hansen, appreciate you both coming on and having the discussion.
ABC News is the source. The statement that was rendered allegedly by Wendy Williams, you just heard here, they haven't talked to her since 23 and it's 24. So if they haven't talked to her, she didn't get to view it with them, she didn't get the public to come out to a showing, then how do we know these were her actual words about the documentary, although she consented? Stay woke. She can only call out. So did she call somebody? They told her that it was released, told her how it sounded, woo, woo, and then she gave a statement to somebody over the phone, or somebody just made up those words on their own. Because it'll be interesting to find out. Wendy Williams never said any of those things, that you all just made up a statement on her behalf. I'm just saying. Posting all this content to my community page in case you're interested. You want to go back to re-listen to any of the information. ABC News was the source of that. It's just, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's see what else I have for Wendy Williams. Hold on, everybody. Trying to play a little bit of everything without playing the Lifetime series, because I don't want my video to get copyrighted for playing any of their content. Of course, he played a little bit of her statements. Oh, so I've played you information from the Sun saying this disorder is alcohol induced. You've heard now from the producers. Here is a question I put on a poll as a poll 8 hours ago. From what you have seen and heard in the Wendy Williams docuseries and via the news over the years and the ruthless things said on her TV show, do you think karma came home? 56% said yes, 30% no, 14% not sure out of 79 votes. Someone says, I don't think it's karma. I've always really liked Wendy. She didn't go easy on celebs, and she was sharp at picking out the bad apples. She had Diddy's number for decades. Wendy would never want to be seen in this light. She would have wanted her winter season to be spent like Joan Rivers, having visitors stop by her penthouse to gossip every day. It broke my heart to see that Angela White seemed to have the most genuine love for Wendy. Even her niece didn't hug Wendy. Angela was shocked, but responded perfectly with love. I think it's a warning to us all. We need to have plans in place. Unfortunately, family can get greedy when money is involved. I've seen too many families battle after someone passed away all over money. I think the booze and food are the only things Wendy has control over. Sadly, the next step is wandering and combativeness. Wendy needs 24/7 care, in my opinion. This is from Little Meech, 8433, 3 hours ago. Well, We don't know that she had food, so that's not really true either. Just saying. The niece has gone on The View, uploaded 5 days ago. I would play that content, but like I said, I don't want any copyrights. So the friends talked to Cuomo, Michelle. Very interesting information. Let's see what this one commentary has to say about what's been going on with Miss Williams. And then I'll check out of here. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hagen, what's your point about that? If she's not the guardian. Oh, she's still the guardian. Believe that.
Some tissue or anything? You good?
No.
Okay, I'll stay here.
Please be here. I'll be here. I miss my family.
She said she missed her family.
Wendy Williams' Lifetime docuseries, Where's Wendy Williams, has officially aired, and it was full of bombshell moments and revelations. The jaw-dropping episodes, which were filmed between August 2022 and October 2023, was broken up into 4 one-hour episodes.
1 year.
That all aired together on February 24th through the 25th. And it started off by showing the amount of alcohol the 59-year-old former talk show host seemed to abuse during that time and for many years prior.
Are you sober? What's going on with that?
Well, I love Tito Puente. I love vodka.
Tito.
And the problem is with Wanda.
Hold on 1 second. If she's talking about Tito vodka, well, I know somebody that likes Tito too. And they get real crunk on that Tito vodka. Let me tell you something. Just a little bit of Tito would make your eyelashes burn off and your eyebrows. I ain't joking. If she's talking about the Tito, I think she's talking about, it is some very strong vodka. I think I had a swig of it last year from somebody I know that drinks only Tito vodka. It's strong. And I tell myself, you got to have a chaser. And this person, I don't think they drink a chaser. And I've seen them lit, literally, numerous of times on this vodka. And so I'm trying to imagine her drinking this straight all the time, drinking this and Kettle One. How you not chasing it with Sprite, lemonade, or something? Man, it's just, this is detrimental. Hopefully she's not imbibing or still, craving alcohol.
She's my sister. I love Wanda, but she hates that I love alcohol. You understand?
Why do you think Wanda wants you to stop drinking?
I don't know.
What really do you know?
Now she sounded like her regular self there.
Know.
He says,
One tough moment from the docuseries is when Wendy's manager, Will Selby, searches around her New York City apartment for hidden alcohol.
Why do you like liquor? Why do you like to drink?
Because I can.
When you have a drink, would you just have it just to have it, or is it because you're stressed out, or you're bored, or what?
No, just because I care for it, and I've always been bored.
Wow, that's deep. Always been bored.
Will stole my Kettle One. How dare you?
Okay, now he opens the refrigerator. You do see some drinks on the refrigerator door wall, some drinks, but maybe there was no food. So maybe those were soda pop cans or some type of drinking beverage in cans. But I don't know if there was any food. But you heard one of the guys filming saying to the niece, there was no food in the refrigerator.
I own this apartment.
Every day that I come here, I look for alcohol, just in case.
Where's the place you found it?
I found it in the bathroom, under the bathroom cabinets, sometimes in closets. I just find it and pour it out, to be honest.
Then the TV personality vents her frustrations about Will to her publicist, Sean Zanotti, for taking away her alcohol, while in the meantime seeming erratic by telling Sean she should get, quote, liposuction.
Okay, so here's what's happening. Okay, I am so bored that I can't wait to get to California. I wish you would get liposuction. Okay, And this is great. And the hair is everything.
Thank you. You're everything. Yeah, I love you.
When we get
Now, while she's telling her to get liposuction, she says, this is great. She was referencing her face. But is this Sean person legit? Because Denise didn't have good feelings about her when she came to the apartment and saw her. She didn't want to be in the same room with her. Sean ended up removing herself. It's a very interesting dynamic when you watch the docuseries. But Wendy's in her own fog, her own bubble at that time when this was filmed. And there are times when you could tell she's aware of her faculty. She's, as you hear her saying, I like to drink. I want to drink. It's my business. Woo, woo, woo. Then there's other times she seemed to zone out. Because at one point she told Denise, hey, I want to watch TV. So she's telling Denise and the film crew, y'all need to get on somewhere. I want to watch TV. Here, while she's talking, she's looking into, I think, a Sun magazine. You just never can tell what was going on with her, but you could see she was not well. That's obvious in the documentary. She was not mentally well, nor was she physically well. Rather, she had spurts of cognitive, of knowledge of things. One minute she seemed knowledgeable about something, then the next minute she talked like, where am I? Not familiar with this place. Because that's expected, with memory loss.
to California, I want to be there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Perhaps 3 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know. And dumbass Will, who has no idea what's about to happen, he's going to be gobsmacked. Am I yelling?
You're fine.
Sorry. Him. Long, hard, and fast.
Now she's saying that about
smoke
Will.
when I smoke, and I will liquor when I liquor.
F him, her
and
manager.
I will eat what I eat. How dare him? How dare him? I control me.
Well, and you know your limits. You know.
Let me tell you something right now. I don't need Will for anything, but I want money. And
before we finish this, some could look at Sean that she didn't really care for Wendy, because when they were in LA and they were at the dining table eating, she's got her food, but Wendy was all about the drink. Now, food eventually came to the table in front of Wendy, but I didn't see her eating. It was sitting there, but she preferred the liquor. So one's going to say, she didn't have any money, no credit cards. Sean, why would you be buying her an alcoholic beverage? You're sitting here in this segment before you all flew out to LA telling Wendy, you know your limit. But obviously she didn't know her limit. That's why Will found that bottle and asked her, hey, did you drink this? The whole thing today? At first she said, yeah. Then she said, no. She probably did. Because as she says, I like it. I do what I want. That's it. And the point is, somebody was going to get the liquor. Hello. So let's just say these issues she's having with her brain are from alcohol damage. Somebody was buying that liquor for her. Whatever bottle he found hidden over here, over there in the cabinet, under the bed, it didn't walk its way up into that apartment. Somebody went out and got liquor. And you will hear her say that in the documentary in the back of the car when they're driving. Could somebody pull over and go get her something to drink? Somebody said no. That's what she wanted. But in the end, she got it. No money, no credit cards, allegedly. But she found her way drinking. So you think about that for just a second.
you know what? I think we need to go.
Can I go upstairs and look at the things you want to get rid of?
Let's go.
Okay.
There's so much stuff that I'm throwing away,
Okay, I'm gonna take my stuff up.
and so much stuff I'm keeping. Get up, please.
Okay, let's go.
Ooh.
Wendy continues her angry and
Tell her to get
forgetful
up.
behavior when she's in the car with Sean and her driver, as she yells at them to take her to the correct vape store, as she increasingly turns more and more agitated.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm not speaking to you. Just drive.
Short shorts.
I've worked with Wendy for about a year.
I found that so bad.
Some days are better than others. Some days she's fine. Some days she's a little crazy.
Once again, a driver. How was she paying the driver? See, this is where I have a problem with this documentary. the people around her that say they care for her, how are you all working for her at that time? How were you working for her when she had no money, allegedly? But like I said, she had a lump sum of cash on her bed. In one of the segments, you could see some cash lying out. So where did that money come from? I'm curious. The documentary, I don't know. How does she have money when all her money is seized? Wells Fargo Bank. Make it make sense. How were these people getting paid? That's why the niece was questioning the publicist, Sean. Like, how are you paying these people? I'm curious too. And now let's ask the ultimate question now. She's far away, far removed, wherever she is, in a facility. Do these people still work for her? Because how can you work for somebody that you can't even talk to? Checkmate. You can't get a payment from her either by cash, cashier's check, money order, because she is in an undisclosed place. So how are these people making money now? The driver, the managerial team, and the publicist. I don't know why I was calling her Alex. Well, Sean, whatever her name is. Somebody names Alex. I'm starting to act like Wendy now.
I've been fired, I think, twice.
What do you do wrong?
That time we had a conversation about drinking. She got pissed off.
What happened?
She wanted to get a drink, and I told her no. I said, you're fired.
Oh, intermission. Yeah, and the manager said he got fired 2 times by her, I think. She gets mad. And you can see that in the documentary. You start talking about something she didn't like, even with the niece, she tuned her out.
New York.
Yes, ma'am.
Find a vape.
We're gonna find her right now. Sean has the address.
It's right near the Wendy Williams show.
Maybe they can get half off. I'll tell them. Listen, all my is at Wells Fargo. I don't have a card. I have no money. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can cut a deal. I don't see my spot. This doesn't look like anything familiar when I'm going to the Wendy Williams show.
This is one she usually goes to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Just get the blue.
Okay. Okay. You know, I wonder if, you know, and I
Do you know Wendy Williams? She comes in here all the time. She told me you would know what she get.
Yeah, I know. This is not the blue that I go to. And this person doesn't know the Wendy Williams show.
So the girl just said to the guy behind the counter, you know, Wendy Williams, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, you know what she gets. But yet Wendy is saying, this is not the right place. So let's ask this question. How did you pay for the vape? With your own money? How long could a person keep doing that, buying her liquor and vapes? See, none of this makes any sense. Where did the damn money come from? I'm confused.
Why did it take so long?
Well, he couldn't find the right one, and this is the only one he had. I hope this is the right one he used.
First of all, you didn't go past the Wendy Williams show or the Sherry Shepherd show.
We're gonna go past her now.
Yeah.
All right. That's where we need to go past.
Is that the correct one? That's all he said he had. He said that's what you usually get.
What the is this? This is open the I don't even know what is.
Okay, because if not, he told me to bring it right back in.
Go past the Wendy Williams show. Go past the Sherry Shepherd show.
This is on 26th Street.
Give me the.
Give it back, please. Give it back. And don't take more than 2 seconds.
Wow. Sounds like the old Wendy.
We go here all the time. We just went out on Friday.
Excuse me?
We go here all the time for the blues.
Listen. You're supposed to go past the Wendy Williams show.
Okay, but
make a right.
This is where we get the blues from every time.
No, excuse me. I do it because I don't want to argue with you. Is that it?
Okay, thank you.
But as a driver, you're just a driver.
Wow.
Try this one. Is this one better? He said that's the other one.
I said, give the.
This isn't okay.
Why would anybody subject themselves to this? Please explain this to me.
Give the back and let's go.
Okay.
Now she's sending her back to the vape store. They're sitting outside the vape store. I'm surprised the police hasn't come over and gave them a ticket. See, this is where some people might say, okay, I hear that Wendy Williams is sick, she's ill, she's this, but why would anyone want to subject herself to this Because what I'm going to think to myself, this is how she talked to people when there were no cameras around. This is how she talked to people on the show. Now, we've heard that the disorder will make them combative, argumentative, but let's be truthful. This was Wendy's nature before being ill. And some people may not want to hear that, but I don't sugarcoat anything over here. Because who would want to keep dealing with this with somebody? Stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. That ain't it. That ain't it. Go by the Wendy Williams show. Go by the Wendy Williams show. And he's trying to tell her, we're going by there, but for now we're at the store to get your vape. Same store we've been going to. Same store we've been getting your blues from. And she's acting like, well, but go by the Wendy Williams show and the Sherry Shepherd show. So she gets a kick naturally out of going by where she used to work. Maybe that's the highlight of her day because she wasn't doing anything. She was bored, but her tongue here is sharp. And I'm telling you, there's some people out here who would forget that she was having mental and physical issues. This is why this shouldn't have went on. People dealing with her to this magnitude of chauffeuring her around, buying drinks, buying vapes, so on and so forth. She did need to be around her family. I can't say that these people tried to take her money, didn't take her money. I'm just going to assume the bank saw something nefarious and they flagged her account and then seized it. And I can understand why it would be relayed that family shouldn't be around her from what they saw on the bank statements. Unless this is just some elaborate scam to defraud a wealthy woman of her money. Take your pick. I don't know. But she needs to be around family. And that's why I'm asking, how long is she going to be in a facility? Lord have mercy. What a mess.
Okay. Doesn't know about New York. But I can't wait to get to California. I returned it because that's all they had in there. So. Go! Drive! Past the Wendy Williams show. Thanks. It's the third time away. Excuse me? Can you drive a little bit faster?
Another disturbing conversation that occurs is with Wendy's niece, Alex Finney, when she reveals she is upset, overthinking Sean, and all the people who work for the media personality don't have her best interest at heart when it comes to her health and finances.
It's just like, it's so sorry. We want to be there.
Sorry about that. Whew. Mercy, mercy me.
Lisa here, we'll get her out of here, okay?
Yes. Yes. 1 second. Yeah, look right back with me.
Sean is the publicist, or was.
No, I don't know you. I'm good. Thank you.
Alex was the niece. I'm sorry. Everybody mixed up.
Nice try. I don't need your fake using behind in the middle of my relationship right now. Hi. So let me ask you how, because I know you're really good friends with Sean now and whatnot. I'm just trying to understand, what, you pay her and she's your friend?
I pay her.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, she's more than PR.
That's interesting.
She understands finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you. It's no secret that there have been random people around you getting money, getting paid, whatever the case may be.
Stealing money from me.
I'm just trying to figure out your friends that you're saying is your friend that you're also paying. It's giving a little desperate energy. You are an A-list celebrity. You are bigger than this. You are better than this. You are smarter than this. You are stronger than this. The Aunt Wendy that I know that has instilled in me how to navigate this crazy business that we're in, this isn't it. People around you getting paid, they're going to tell you stuff to make you feel good. You taught me that.
Listen to the people in your life that are not taking a dime. They are not profiting.
I understand, Alex.
And that's what I'm saying.
Alex, relax. I understand.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've said my piece. I love you.
I love you too.
Wow.
I'm done for the day.
See that? Cut it off. Cut everybody off. She's gotten upset. Short shorts. Ooh, Lord, what a story. This is crazy to me.
So what just happened?
I had a very real moment with my
Well,
aunt.
she walked up the stairs.
Speaking of finances, in part one, Wendy's 23-year-old son, Kevin Hunter Jr., opens up about how he never stole any money from his mother.
So my mom made me power of attorney because at that time, the banks were trying to, like around that time, they started accusing like the family of like doing things that weren't true and saying that my mom wasn't fit to make choices on her own.
Froze her bank accounts, involved the court system. No wrongdoing by the bank has been found.
When I was in Miami, all of a sudden, my American Express card wasn't working.
When my mom was living down here, as one can imagine, it's not a cheap lifestyle. The court tried to frame it as though I was making all these charges for my own happiness and stuff. And my mom has never been a cheap person. So whether it be flying her back and forth on private planes or even paying for appointments, it was all under one American Express.
I'm luxurious and gorgeous, and I care for my family a lot.
And in part two, Kevin reveals again that his mom always wanted him taken care of and to do whatever he needs to do, no questions asked.
So were people asking her to buy things when she went to Miami on that first trip? And the account got flagged because maybe it was excessive purchases or back-to-back purchases that were, extensive in dollar amount. And that's why it got flagged. So far, this commentary says there's been no wrongdoing found by the bank. Because I was wondering, was the bank in on it in conjunction with this lady, this Marissi lady, that's the conservator? So what was bought down there? Because people are going to ask. See, nobody asks the right questions. I would have asked. I'm interviewing him. I would have said, okay, you used the American Express card. Well, what did you buy? Tell the world. You're doing a docuseries. Just tell it. What did you purchase? How many times did you go to the store a day? How many times did you go to the store? What did you buy every time you went to the store? Because you couldn't forget. Now, she may have a lavish lifestyle. We did see a lot of name brand items on her, Gucci, Fendi. But why would the bank flag the account? Why would they think somebody was doing something nefarious? Was it too many purchases made in a day? Maybe she wasn't really buying a lot in New York, but then when she went to Miami, she was spending more. I don't know. Did they call her? Ma'am, did you just purchase this? Did you just purchase this? Did they even call her to ask? Because she said the American Express stopped working in Miami. Well, did the son take money off the card? Because you can also borrow off a card or take money off a card. Did anybody open up any lines of credit in her name? Because people do that to steal your identity, steal information. Just curious.
Do whatever he needs to do, no questions asked. But the high spending amounts eventually caused Wendy's power of attorney to change from Kevin to a guardianship.
Yeah.
One story said that
$100,000. Wells Fargo froze her account.
Taken thousands of dollars from your mother's account.
I've never taken it without her because I've always spoken to her, and she's always wanted me to
Let's be truthful here. What do you need to buy on vacation worth $100,000? Because I think she was down there probably for a couple of months because she had to come back in 23 to address the guardianship situation, I guess, after the bank froze the money. So, son, what did you buy? $100,000. I mean, plane tickets don't reach $100,000. We know it's expensive to fly from one side of the coast to the other. She would be going from New York to Miami round trip, but that's still not $50,000. So what is it that you purchase that would flag the account? I'm curious. Because first you said the bank saw something with the family. Then mom made me power of attorney. Lord have mercy. And then, filming this documentary, she goes back to Miami with Will, the manager, and she hadn't seen her son and the nephew for 8 months. Why was that? Curious.
You know, let's spend her money. She's always like told me, like, Kevin, if you ever like need something or whatever, just ask me, and like, you know, what happened. And she would always like communicate with me.
The judge has the authority to undo a power of attorney that you signed if the judge determines, based on the evidence presented, that you didn't have the capacity to sign that when you signed it. The second way is if the person you appointed is not doing right by you.
Wendy's guardianship was really hard on their family, which her older sister Wanda Finney opens up about.
When the whole process started, all members of this family were contacted about Wendy and what we needed for her. You know, my feeling as her sister was Wendy needs to have somebody with her 24 hours a day.
Yes, I believe that.
For the next few months. I was asked, which I consider being guardian. I said, I don't know what being a guardian involves. I was told that it involved taking some kind of class. You know, I said, yeah, I'll do it. I said, whatever I got to do. And that, you know, I'll be focused on Wendy's health. And then all of a sudden, the wall came down and there was nothing. Now, why that happened, I don't know. I have opened my heart, and you suck that information and then you shut it down and you tell me that I'm not capable of taking care of my sister.
Court appointed somebody else.
Reveals the moment the doctors told him that his A-list mother was starting to suffer from, quote, alcohol-induced dementia.
In the fall of 2021, why did your mom come to Florida?
My mom came to Florida because we felt as though that her being close to the family would be a huge help. And from just taking her to appointments and things like that, I was able to really learn more about things going on with my mother internally. They basically said that because she was drinking so much, it was starting to affect her headspace and her brain.
Tell me about the doctors, this is what you learned.
So I think they said it was alcohol-induced dementia. Yeah.
The documentary's mention of Wendy's health issues comes just a few days after her care team announced that she has been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia.
Isn't it hard to study Spanish?
So, is that what he was actually told or not? Because nobody has spoken up as a doctor or physician on her behalf. Naturally, they can't speak without her consent because you can't just give out people's personal information. So, was this from alcoholism or no? Genetics? Don't know. Very strange.
And frontotemporal dementia. Wendy's bombshell docuseries concluded with Will and her family members sharing where Wendy is now with her health and how she's doing, even though they still haven't been able to physically see her due to the guardianship.
I saw Wendy about 10 days ago. Wendy is looking natural. She's gaining a little bit more weight. She doesn't have the pink sunglasses. She's not hiding from anything. She is as sober as she can be. She is thinking about her future.
That's good.
I feel like she's in a space now where she is dropping the work and understanding what's more important to her, and that's her family. She loves her son to death, and it bothers her that she hasn't seen him in so long. So that's her focus, you know? Resting and family. She she even told me that eventually she wants to move to Miami.
That would need to be a court decision, right?
Everything with Wendy is a court decision. Everything is.
Wow.
She's not making any decisions on her own. Everything has to be decided by the court in the guardianship.
Marker.
Full transparency. Yesterday she did say that, she will be talking with her guardian to figure out next steps in terms of plan of action. When am I going to be getting out of here so that I can start the next chapter?
That seems to be her focus. And it's not that conversation that she was having 8 or 9 months ago where it was just, I got to break out of here. I got to get out, blah, blah, blah. That's very methodical. She also realizes that, I know I forget things, Juan, sometimes.
So this time it feels different for you.
Absolutely.
Feels really different.
I want the family to become the guardian.
And you guys are ready to take care of it?
100%. I think that all of this is going to end because we're in a different place than we were at the beginning of the guardianship.
We went through a time period of everybody wants to solve the issue, but we don't even know what the heck the issue is. And everybody's in the corner trying to solve it in their own way. And I think as a family, we're in a more wholesome, united place.
Are we perfect? No. Are all the relationships in this family perfect? No. But there is love for everybody. And I don't.
All right, that's the end of that. So you heard from the sister, Wanda. That was Alex, the niece, speaking. Sorry, I got her mixed up earlier with Sean, the publicist. So you hear Will, who was the manager, say he had heard from her. She put on some weight, allegedly. Family saying she sound good. You heard the son say the same thing here at the end of this commentary, that she sounds good. So that's all that matters, is that she's doing better. And I'm praying that they can actually visually see her, because I wouldn't want someone just, saying these things and it's not true. It's nothing like seeing. As they say, seeing is believing. Let me see her. Let me have a visit. And it's conducive to good living and health that a person can talk to people, friends, associates, family members. There's no need in having someone locked up in some facility and they can't even go out and sit out on a picnic table with a friend or a family member. That's cruel. You don't have the right to do that to somebody. We understand the focus is on their health, mental health, and sobriety. But at some point, she's been in there long enough. She has no reason to be in a facility without having some interaction with family members and having actual visits from the family. They have that right to see her, and she still has rights. No matter what you think happened to her money, what you think is going on with her physically and mentally, she still is a human being, and she has rights to see family members and friends. And nobody should be, there shouldn't be any obstruction and allowing someone to have phone conversations and visits to the facility. I mean, come on, because I don't know how anybody would think this would be the best care. It's not letting a person talk to their family members, because you heard her crying here earlier that she missed her family. This was when she was in New York in the apartment. So it would be the same in the facility. They're still her relatives. She wants to deal with them. That is her choice. If they did anything suspect, we'll pray that the truth will be out. They show the proof, and then she'll decide from there if she wants to deal with these people. Because I think all that needs to be revealed to Wendy Williams by the bank and the guardian. Show her proof, if you have not already, of who took money or did anything she did not consent to or sign. And then that would be up to her how she travels after that. But like I said, what would be sad is if 24 rolls out and this woman is still in a facility, still doesn't have access to her money, still hasn't visited with family members, still hasn't been released. That would be jacked up. So what I need to ask before I check out of here is to the guardian, do you get a pay from her monies to watch her money? That's what I'd like to know. Do you get a pay? And if so, how much is it? Is anybody else getting a pay from her money. Because you are a lawyer, and lawyers make money. That's what they do. So I would assume you would get some type of stipend from being a guardian of Miss Williams' money. Another question. She was moving into a new apartment when they were filming this docuseries. Did she get moved into that apartment? Because I remember Will going into the old apartment and there was nothing left in there. So did she move into that apartment? If so, does she still have it? And where are her belongings? Something that bothered me as well pertaining to this, the belongings in the apartment. Will had said something about her getting rid of stuff, wanting to sell stuff. Why is she selling stuff? I thought, well, it's her business. She's moving. Maybe she's, downsizing. Maybe she wants to, don't want to take everything she has. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then I thought the niece was making a comment like things were missing. I thought she said that things were missing in the apartment. So what was missing exactly? Were these people stealing from her? Because you see, she had that big diamond bauble still on her finger at the time of filming, end of filming. Did anybody steal out of her house? Personal effects, money, jewelry? Did anybody commit any fraud against her name? Curious about that. Because when people are around you, they will get access to your name, social security number, birth date. I'm curious to know that too. And I would assume this bank would watch her name and credit to make sure nobody opened up any lines of credit, such as, credit cards, loans in Miss Williams' name, because this would be the perfect time, or that time, or even now would be the perfect time for a person to commit fraud because they feel like she's incapacitated. She's not going to be watching her name. She probably don't have her name in a database where you pay, that monthly fee to watch your credit, make sure nobody commits any type of fraud. And frankly, I think that should be done. Her name should be in a database where she pays a certain fee to make sure no one is opening up any type of line of credit in her name. And that's just to keep down any type of fraudulent deeds against her government name. It's very interesting information. And Mr. Hunter, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. No matter what happened between you and Wendy in your marriage, you should have took the high road and left her and went on about your damn business. And sadly, she took it internally and personally. And I believe that has been her downfall to why she ended up in the shape she ended up mentally and physically. She could not cope once she realized you had been cheating on her and dating that younger woman, and you're still with her allegedly and have a child with her. That had to be devastating. She didn't know what to do. She talks about that in the documentary as well. She said her family kept telling her, leave, leave, leave. But she told them she didn't know what to do. Basically, she was saying, I don't want to leave him. But I don't know how she could have stayed. I don't know how long she hung in there after getting the knowledge that you were cheating on her, but I wouldn't have wanted you. And sadly, she didn't cope because you could tell that she started to spiral downward when all that information got out. It took a little while, but she started going downhill. And when you have health problems, it does not help to also have stress and depression. And then, God forbid, you're using substances or start to use substances. And that's what she did. Instead of what could have been leisure use of cocaine and alcohol became her crutches. And it sent her into the abyss. And you have the audacity to want to go before a judge asking for money when the woman wasn't well enough to make money. Just shameful. Despicable and shameful. And what I have to tell myself is if you would behave this way when a person is sick and downtrodden, this is how you behave when you were married to her. The very reason why she filed for divorce. Praying that she gets better and praying that everything is revealed and that she gets, in a better space mentally, physically, spiritually. And we will see what happens. The next update pertaining to Wendy Williams. If I get an update or more information, I will bring you the said commentary and I'll post it to my community page. Once again, you'd like to donate to this great network, $McAngie129. Cash App, stickers, and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Please check out my community board for polls, breaking news. Tomorrow I will do an update pertaining to the serviceman who unalived himself due to the Palestine war, Ukraine, and so on and so forth. Oh, Lord, I think I got that mixed up, but is it Hamas? I can't think right now. But the war, there's so many of them you can't keep up. But I want to talk about the serviceman who unalived himself. This is very devastating information for one to take their life like that. Basically, they said he said free Palestine. So we'll talk about that and Chris Watts this week. You all have a wonderful evening. You've been listening to The Vault XL. Thank you.